I was told that no, you are a boy. You should behave like boys. They were told, why do you stop them? Up to a certain limit, it's fine, and then you will become. You cannot have children. How will you give birth? I have worked with big names like Ranbir Kapoor, Jimmy Shergill, and Diljit. I have styled them. I made this is Shaine Soni, and my birth is born as a woman, but in a man's body, which we know in very simple terms as trans woman. My life journey has been everything but ordinary. So, my journey started at a very young age. I wouldn't say I felt something wrong, but I felt something different about myself. I remember I think I was 7 years old when I was severely bullied. The ones who bullied me were none other than my own people, my relatives, my schoolmates, and my teachers. They told me that no, you are a boy. You should behave like boys. Even at that time, at that age, I didn't understand what it meant to be a boy and to behave like boys should. I always saw my mother as an inspiration. She was the most inspiring woman to me because I didn't know. Children don't know the difference between a man and a woman. I never looked inside my mother's salwar to see what her genitals were. When people started saying that no, you were born as a boy, so you should act like a boy, I didn't understand it at that time, and I felt like, who are these people to decide what I should do and what I should feel? So there comes an age when you hit puberty, when you are around 13 or 14 years old, a lot of pressure starts coming in from school, from neighbors, from relatives, and plus, see, my parents were also getting affected now. So at that time, it was like, yes, let's show this to some psychologist. Let's show this to some doctor. I started feeling that maybe if everyone is saying it, then perhaps something is wrong, that maybe there is something lacking in me. So let's fix it. So I thought, okay, they are elders, my relatives, my father's friends, my mother's friends. So if they are saying it, they must know better. They have more experience in life. So we went to therapists, went to doctors, but I felt okay now with this. This will change me, but over the years, despite medications and treatments, I still felt the same. So I thought that maybe there might be an issue with the thinking. Rather than pointing at me being wrong, I decided that this is my journey, and I have to first figure out myself. Who am I? What am I? And if there is something wrong, it is okay to be wrong. You don't have to be right always. Since childhood, we have developed a mindset that when everyone is right, if one person is wrong, then they are wrong. It's not wrong, it's a perspective. If one person is wrong, they are not wrong. Their way of seeing things is different. Every aspect of life, every decision, every choice depended on my parents because we had a joint family. What would my uncle say? What would my aunt say? Or what would my maternal uncle and aunt say? Decisions also came from their side. So freedom did not exist in my life. Yes, the freedom of understanding myself, knowing about myself, understanding what I want in my life, and the feelings I have. I had to step out of my house to understand these because it is not about fighting and arguing over something. Creating an environment where there is only tension, where I never get time for myself, and no time to understand myself. I didn't want that thing. I left my home at the age of 17. Let me clarify again. I left home. I was not thrown out. I left home because I knew I had a fight. I had to figure myself out first, rather than putting pressure on my parents and trying to understand and creating difficult situations at home. I could understand at that age that there is a generation gap. There is a generation gap between your parents' age and your age. There is a difference in their upbringing and our upbringing. That is a generation gap. Now, expecting them to understand me overnight is the wrong approach. One thing that was very strong in my mind, which came from my upbringing and my background, was that I had to keep my education very strong. So, I thought if I make myself capable and give myself proper education and stand on my own feet, then maybe my life would become better. I started gaining some knowledge at that time that yes, there is something called sex reassignment surgery and gender confirmation surgery. So I thought, yes, this is a possibility. So when you are in a dark zone, you enter a tunnel where you can only see darkness. At the end of the tunnel, there is a light that becomes hope for you. Similarly, when I read about gender confirmation, it became my hope. I felt that if I have to reach there or go there, I have to work hard. It will not come easily. I did just that. I completed my education in my life. I graduated from NIFT, the National Institute of Fashion Technology, which is a very reputed college. There, people abandoned me, and I faced many challenges. I got time there to prepare for NIFT, spending my time with my books rather than with friends who perhaps never understood me. I focused on achieving the goal I had set for myself, getting so engrossed in my work that I didn't notice anything else. I didn't pay attention to what people said or the different names they called me. People used to call me names like Hijra and comment on whether I was a boy or a girl. My attitude was that now I am here. I can express myself and be who I want to be. So I started dressing the way I wanted. I was very famous for wearing very high boots, short dresses, and backless outfits. My mother was called to NIFT, and she was asked why she didn't stop me, as there is a limit to everything. A lot was said. A lot was said about me, like look at the way I dress, look at the way I sit and stand. When everyone had said their piece, my mother was listening. And I was so scared that my mother had been told so much by my institution. I wondered what would happen, what she would hear, and how she would feel. But it was just a very motivating moment for me because her response was, "Is this why you called me?" I thought there was some academic problem or an attendance issue. And that's all she said. No one said anything else, and they understood. They said, "I know my child as they are. If you called me here, I thought it was some academic problem or an attendance issue." So that became the moment of strength. I decided there's no looking back for me. I have to just move forward. I have to be what I want to be. When my mom had that interaction with my faculties and she gave that response, I think, looking back for me, from there I got so much strength. I know that my parents are my back. And when parents stand by you, I think no person in the world can stop you from achieving anything. So for me, it happened during the time I was graduating from NIFT. When I was about to graduate from NIFT, I won a reality show on Zoom TV called Let's Design, and I became the first Indian to work with the WGSN, the world's best fashion forecasting agency in the creative department. And all these achievements, one after another, made me so confident. I thought that, okay, when people are looking at my professional site and people are looking at my work, they are knowing me for my work. People are not knowing me for my gender or how I look. It was my hard work that got me to such a position, landing projects where I worked with big names like Ranbir Kapoor, Jimmy Shergill, and Diljit. I styled them and worked on these films. So all of this is a significant part of my life. It had become a high phase of life, but in that high phase, I knew that I was connected to the ground because I had risen from there. A person who has struggled knows that no matter how high a phase you reach, it is very important to stay connected to the ground. Besides that, I started my own label, and Call Nude. So the reason I used the word nude was because for me, it was nude, the purest form of human birth happens when we come into the body. We come nude. That is the most comfortable state of the body. And if we can accept our body naked, then what's the point of wearing any fancy clothes on your body? The full form of nude was New Urban Design Empire. And even then, I did very challenging work. I designed leather lingerie and was the first person in Asia to design leather lingerie and have a specific brand. I faced a lot of backlash for that as well. Many people said, "What is this? We all understand lingerie as something to wear." I think in our India, the first thing we think is that lingerie is not visible. So wear anything. But you don't think that lingerie is the first garment that you wear on your body? If you cannot love your body, then you cannot love anyone else. So you should take care of how important the first piece of clothing on your body is to you today. In my childhood, I saw Sushmita Sen winning a round for India. As a little girl, I always had a dream to be Miss India. But that dream remained just a dream. Just like Lord Krishna told Arjun about his strength, I think I was also told about my strength. Reena Roy told me when she said to me, "Shaine, it's time for you to take the crowd." I got convinced in a way to take up the crown of Miss Transco India and get my chance to represent my wonderful country. When I took the title of Trans Woman India, and as I mentioned before, people didn't know about me. I had never revealed it. Very few people knew. So I had a fear inside me, a confusion, not knowing how people would react, whether they would accept me or not. But to my surprise, I was overwhelmed by the response. I started a project, which I took for my international pageant, also called Shodan Kaksha, which was highly appreciated. Even in international pageants, where I advocate for gender education about our sexuality, we should work on it from the school level and make it a part of school programs. Because even today, when we look, you go for admissions for children, it is written there in brackets, male and female. Where will the other genders go? What grievances can I hold against the children who bullied me or the teachers who bullied me at school when they had no knowledge about this? So I think it is very important to foster this knowledge from a very young age. When we teach from childhood that there is sympathy for each other, love for each other, and respect for each other, it will generate from there. And life would be so much better for the coming generations. We all have a goal. In all of our lives, there is one goal, one destination that we want to achieve. I think that has been the goal of my life since childhood. The goal was to unite my soul, my inner self, with my body. In my life, I always had the decision that when I would take this decision, when I would undergo my gender confirmation surgery, it had to be with the consent of my parents. So glad that when I did this entire thing, my mom was with me. And of course, my dad, B, lost time very recently. But when I first spoke to my dad and my mom about it, my dad's first question was, "After that, we will be able to get married?" I think that was the most poor thing that I could hear from anyone, because it was not about that. Also made me, I realized at that moment that for my father, I was his only daughter. So when you get it, when you get support from your family, then there's nothing, no looking back. Nothing else matters to you. After being taken out of the operation theater, when I regained consciousness, I can't describe the work, the composure and the contentment I felt that finally my soul and my body are one. Many people ask me a very common question during my journey. Okay, you will become a woman after the sex change. But you can't have a child. How will you give birth to another life? And the most crucial part of a woman's life is to give birth. But I realized one thing. I was carrying a baby inside me for years. And I was nurturing that girl inside me, whom the world didn't allow to be nurtured. But I fought the world and nurtured that girl inside me. And when I regained consciousness, I realized that I have finally given birth to that girl. As we were told since childhood, you can be a jack of all trades, master of none. So I always believed I am a master of all, jack of none. So this is because you know your own capabilities, not people deciding what you are capable of. You know what you can do. Today, as human beings, we underestimate ourselves. We hold ourselves back. We have doubts about ourselves. So I would like to say, make yourself so strong that even the Almighty asks, "O human, tell me what your wish is." Today, through Asha, I would like to ask you all one question. Just as I achieved a milestone in my journey, created an identity for myself, and fulfilled a dream, what is that milestone you have achieved or wish to achieve? Please write to us about it, and we would love to read, learn about it, and be inspired by it.